I want you to hear. The Democrats talk a lot about the affordability crisis in the United States of America. And yes, there is an affordability crisis, one created by Joe Biden's policies. You don't turn the Titanic around overnight. It takes time to fix what was broken. I said earlier,
last year, most of the time was spent talking about long-range weapons for Ukraine. And everybody said that the solution was within range. Now, no one is even talking about it. But Russian missiles and Shaheds are still here. And we still have the coordinates of the factories where they are made. Today, they target Ukraine. Tomorrow, it could be any NATO country. And here in Europe, we are advised not to mention tomahawks. Not to mention tomahawks to the Americans, not to spoil the mood. And we are told not to bring up Taurus missiles. When the subject is Turkey, diplomats say don't offend Greece. When it's Greece, they say be careful with Turkey. In Europe, there are endless internal arguments and things left unsaid that stop Europe from uniting and speaking honestly enough to find real solutions. And too often, Europeans turn against each other, leaders, parties, movements, and communities, instead of standing together to stop Russia, which brings the same destruction to everyone. Instead of becoming a truly global power, Europe remains a beautiful but fragmented kaleidoscope of small and middle powers. Instead of taking the lead in defending freedom worldwide, especially when America's focus shifts elsewhere, Europe looks lost, trying to convince the US president to change. But he will not change.
Values of inclusivity, fairness, solidarity, sustainability, and ambition. Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs, when newcomers are welcome, when minorities are protected, when Indigenous peoples are true partners. That commitment to inclusion was institutionalized, first in the Bill of Rights and then embedded in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy and then as law. In the same spirit, the enshrinement into law of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples reflects our fundamental commitment to reconciliation and to respecting Indigenous peoples as equal partners in building our country together.
Well, everyone's glad to see you. A bit surprised to see you. You used to really slag off all the globalists at the WEF.
Oh, I slagged off the European Parliament for 20 years, but I still went there once a month. And I think I genuinely upset them virtually every time I turned up. Isn't it interesting? I mean, 5 years ago, here at Davos, the main topic of conversation was climate change, DEI, all that baloney. And here we are, 5 years on, and the debate's completely different. It's being dominated by AI, tech, energy. And the one thing I've enjoyed over the last couple of days, there is genuine debate. That there are different opinions now, rather than the sort of consensus view that I certainly felt was coming out from the globalists. I found it really interesting and worthwhile. Well,
one consensus view, I mean, you and I talked about this, it is quite funny that there's so many honest conversations this week, and it sort of suggests, what were the conversations like before, but we have had a lot of...
Well, I think, you see, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, 10 years ago, we had the Brexit referendum result, we had Trump winning the presidency, and I think everyone thought, well, these are just aberrations. These are short-term... I remember Tony Blair saying these are sort of short-term fits of rage, normal service will be resumed. And now everyone realises that actually these were the first tremors of a very, very major change in political conversation and debate. And that, I think, now is writ large.
And actually, my prediction is, in the benign scenario of the future, that the robots will actually make so many robots and AI that they will actually saturate all human needs. Meaning you won't be able to even think of something to ask the robot for at a certain point. Like there will be such an abundance of goods and services, because my prediction is that there'll be more robots than people. So,
but how do you then have human purpose in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's perfect, but it is a necessary. Like, you can't have both. You can't have work that has to be done and amazing abundance for all. Because if it's work that has to be done, then you and only some people can do it, then you can't have abundance.
Then
for
it's
all.
narrow.
It's narrow, yeah. Exactly. So, but if you have billions of humanoid robots, and I think there will be, I think everyone on Earth is going to have one and going to want one, because who wouldn't want a robot to, assuming it's very safe, watch over your kids, take care of your pet. If you have elderly parents, a lot of friends of mine said they have elderly parents. It's very difficult to take care of them.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, and there just aren't enough people to take care of there aren't enough young people to take care of the old people.
Right.
So if you had a robot that could take care of and protect an elderly parent, I think that would be great. That would be an amazing thing to have. I think we will have those things. So, overall, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we're headed for a future of amazing abundance, which is very cool. And definitely, we are in the most interesting time in history. I think there's a more interesting time in history.
Welcome back to the SCIF, my friends. We're about to have some world-changing events. Thanks for joining us today. I'm actually pre-taping this. I'll be at Fort Bragg all day on Friday, so this is Thursday evening, but I think this will fit well for the show. A lot going on. We can't forget about Ukraine. It's still going on, and we're going to have Pete Blaber and talk about that in depth on Ukraine SitRep here in the second hour. But we're about, in my view, to have a big Middle Eastern war. There are large numbers of aircraft and assets deploying to the Middle East for President Trump. And I think you're going to have action against the Iranian state and possibly some of its proxies in Lebanon, et cetera, possibly in conjunction with Israel. So we are going to talk to Josh Klein, our go-to guy for that sphere of the world and that community in Israel who's connected there and knows a lot. And as you know, we just want to bring you good information that you need to know. We're not, we're not going to get in these big food fights that are out there right now. We're just going to bring you good reporting. So that's our mission here at CDM, and that's what we're going to continue to do. It's what we've done for really since 2019, since we were formed, and we're going to continue doing that. I want to say hello to the crew. You're cleared hot in the chat. Check out whatfinger.com, great aggregator site. We've got Pete Blaber coming in the second hour and Josh Klein here shortly. We've also got Brindy Wells, who is going to talk to us about Nucleo Boost. Really good interview with Brindy. She's fantastic. But let's do the mission brief real quick. Today is what's today? January 23rd. I'm your host, Todd Wood. This is your mission brief. Jared Kushner talks Gaza at Davos, kind of outlined the whole plot, if you will. And we'll dig into that here when we dig into the stories here later in the show. More Georgia election fraud evidence surfaces. We put out a big story on the Georgia Record on this. It's going to get worse and worse before it gets better in Georgia. Pediatricians have defrauded families for years with the vaccines. This is big. There's a lawsuit and a RICO suit actually filed by Children's Health Defense. Really serious stuff, and you need to be aware of it, especially if you're a parent or a grandparent. Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal in Connecticut doesn't like ICE. That's an understatement. He doesn't like ICE doing its job. The Connecticut Sentinel has been all over this, our paper in Connecticut. And the Board of Peace, is it going to replace the UN? We talked about that, but there's a little more out there. Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, says that may be it. So what is Trump up to? We'll talk about all that, but stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF. A lot to go through today. Thanks for being here. Be right back.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be two things: homeopathy and herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained, and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin. Yeah. You can be born short of insulin, right? Mm-hmm. The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy. Mm-hmm. You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I want to go through some stories now and get this out of the way before we get to Josh Klein at Breitbart and Pete Blaber and Brindy Wells. Let's talk about this first story, which I mentioned. It's on cdm.press. Representative Anna Paulina Luna is saying that Trump may be using this new board of peace to bypass the UN. I mean, the UN has been very nefarious. It's infiltrated by the Chinese Communist Party. It's literally waging war against the United States. And I think you're seeing President Trump's chess move on the global stage here to bypass or go under or over the UN and remove its effectiveness. And I think you could see action against the UN as we get further along in Trump's presidency, once we get some of these other issues dealt with. Next week, we're going to talk more about the internal stuff with the deportations and everything. But right now, today is an international focus day. And so we're going to dig into all that. But the UN is something I want to stay on top of because I think there's a lot more there to dig into as we get farther down the road. Let's talk about this on Zionism.com, our Israeli site. Here's the construction plan for Gaza, says Jared Kushner. Jared goes into what it's going to look like. This was at Davos, and you can see the drawings, the renderings, and it's going to be moved into sections, zones, if you will, that are going to be developed in different times. You can dig through this on Zionism.com. It's on cdm.press on the main homepage. Okay, next one. Go to Connecticut Sentinel, connecticutsentinel.com. A lawsuit alleges the American Academy of Pediatrics has defrauded American families for decades over the vaccines. Really a money-making enterprise and not really focused on the health of the children. I mean, we're up to like 72 plus vaccines now on the schedule, although RFK just did reduce those, especially the early in life vaccines, I think from 17 to 11. There's big pushback in the industry. This is a big moneymaker for people, but this has been a fraud. We've wondered about our medical establishment and the pushing of drugs and bio products on families and young children. And this is a RICO suit that's been filed by Children's Self Defense. So you can read this article on the Connecticut Sentinel and learn much more about that. All right, Senator Blumenthal in Connecticut doesn't like ICE going into homes where they've already had an eviction order. He thinks there should be a warrant to go in a home, even if there's a criminal inside. ICE doesn't need that, but he talks about this as a problem of constitutional law when he knows full well, as a lawyer himself, that this is legal and ICE has this ability. It's something that we're going to dig into more next week on the deportations and the insurrection going on. But this is National Security Day today, and just wanted to highlight that issue for you. If you go to GeorgiaRecord.com, you can see this story, massive new election fraud evidence coming out. Brad Raffensperger, their Secretary of State, has been keeping information on falsified ballot transfer records and unsigned tabulator tapes, all the hallmarks of a stolen election and modified or disturbed voting processes, and willful fraud in getting someone else elected. We're breaking this story. There's going to be more coming out on this. We've already been on it with the first 300 something thousand votes that were found. We don't know the totals yet, but this is coming out. We know it. We've got multiple sources confirming this. Georgia is screwed up. We're trying our best to highlight the corruption and the election fraud going on in Georgia and Florida and elsewhere, but this is a big one on the Georgia Record, so please check it out. All right, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back with Josh Klein from Breitbart News to talk about what's going on in the Middle East, so stay with us.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these. And we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. So we're back with a good friend of the show, Josh Klein from Breitbart. He's always been very helpful in giving us kind of an understanding from a journalist's point of view, but also from the Middle Eastern point of view. Josh, thank you tonight. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always great to be back.
Well, let's just go down the list. You and I were talking. Thoughts on the Board of Peace in Gaza? Let's get that one out of the way. What do you think on what's going down in Davos?
Yes, I mean, obviously it was announced today. I mean, the makeup of the board in and of itself is kind of interesting. I mean, you're not really seeing any Western countries really involved, which I think is for a couple of reasons. First, I think they're a little bit reluctant the way that the board is being viewed, whether this is limited to Gaza or kind of more an alternative to the UN and a longer term kind of operation that Trump's trying to pull. In their view. And also the people that are sitting on the board. I mean, Russia, Belarus, a lot of, countries that I guess the Western bloc of Europe, would really not rather be involved with. But really the most important thing is where is this going? And I think even Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, laid out, the new Gaza plan today, a whole vision for rebuilding it. But everything, again, he said, is contingent on Hamas disarming, demilitarizing. And I mean, from all the people I've spoken to in Israel and other analysts, they just don't see it happening. I mean, they just don't see Hamas literally just handing over their weapons. And everything is really contingent on that moving forward. So, I mean, Israel is definitely concerned about Qatar on the board, Turkey on the board, and having, any sort of influence within Gaza in and of itself. They even put out statements to that effect earlier in the week. But basically, they view it as better to have a seat and try and influence it from within. And ultimately, really, with the belief that, I mean, it's going to come down to the IDF really having to do another round of operations within Gaza. There's talk of actually that being planned for March, and really doing it. I mean, I don't see the ISF, the International Stabilization Force, or any other country that's going to willingly want to fight, urban battles against Hamas. So I think the board, I think it's it's an interesting concept and idea. But it's a framework that really even America admitted, and then, as I said before, Kushner admitted, would only come into fruition really at the next stage, which requires, Hamas to be gone. So see where this goes. And I think Israel's also taking a wait and see approach.
Well, I think you're right, and I've said this on the show that I think Trump's building an alternative to the UN. I mean, it's against China, in my opinion, because the UN is infiltrated, and that's well known, and so I think Trump's going around it. So it should be interesting to watch. You mentioned
really quick on that.
Yeah,
he is offering. I mean, there's these reports with this $1 billion fee that people can pay to have a permanent seat on there. Right now, the mandate, at least I think according to the UN, is till 2027. So, I mean, basically, that's kind of hinting at this is really an alternative to the UN, because this would be obviously past Trump's term in office. So that goes back to the concerns before. But in a way, I think actually Trump is onto something, that the UN really is useless and has proven itself to be useless in, managing these types of conflicts properly. So it's interesting.
Not even just useless, but nefarious. I mean, so
exactly.
That's
exactly.
As far as Qatar, Turkey, you mentioned Turkey. Turkey's a rising power in the Middle East, and we may have talked about this before, but they seem to be looking for a confrontation with Israel. What do you think? That's my sense.
Yeah, I mean, Israel's really watching this and very nervous about it. And talk about, Turkey again, that goes back to the Board of Peace. I mean, and they're trying to get a foothold in Gaza. But we're seeing this in a lot of places. First, I'll start with Lebanon, and then also this alignment with Syria that's going on. And keep in mind that Turkey is a member of NATO and has a huge military. So that's always kind of forgotten by people, that it's kind of lumped into other category, but it's a NATO member. So I mean, right now we're seeing in Lebanon like huge movement, and things that really are not getting the proper attention that we were discussing before. In northeastern Iran, which the Kurdish controlled region, right now Ahmed al-Shara, who's the head of HTS, which is now the president of Lebanon. I mean, they officially made this ceasefire deal, but we're literally seeing massacres. Videos of it came out today of women's hairs, being cut off. There's serious prisons over there too, by the way. I mean, there's so much to get into, but there's also ISIS prisons that were being guarded by, the Kurds, and unfortunately, a decent amount of ISIS people did escape. I think they got most of them back, but I mean, overall, this is really seen as a big betrayal by the Kurdish people. The Kurds were very instrumental in helping the U.S. originally get rid of, ISIS in Lebanon, and they see this deal right now with Shara and creating territorial integrity at the expense of their own region, their own language, and this also goes to the protection of Christians in the area. So I mean, and this is all again. So this swings back to Turkey, because Turkey really wants to see. They hate the Kurds, this issue. The Kurds, it's a threat to them within. They see it as a threat to them within Syria itself, the PKK. So they really just want to kill all independents and gain a foothold and control within Syria itself, in Lebanon. I'm sorry. And then lastly, just really quickly, there's been Saudi Arabia has kind of really also gone to a very far extreme over the past month or so, cutting, defense deals with Pakistan, with Egypt, with Somalia, and now Turkey is actually really interested in getting involved with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and getting involved with these mutual defense pacts. And this all gets so complicated because Turkey is a member of NATO. So it's beyond something to keep an eye on. It's stuff that's already in development. So there's so many moving parts right now in the Middle East. I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned the Christians in Syria, but the Christians in Lebanon are worried about this Sunni influence as well, because they have 2 million Sunni Syrian refugees from the Assad civil war that won't go back, and they're being paid to stay by the UN and other NGOs out of Europe. So it creates chaos across the cultures. And yes, it's obvious the U.S. has made a deal with Turkey to solve the Kurdish problem, which is very reminiscent of solving the Armenian problem back, 100 years ago. So it's fascinating to watch. And, I'm not a big fan of Tom Barrack. I've said that many times. What about Lebanon? Hezbollah in the south is still a real issue. Israel is still dealing with the weapons stores and the manufacturing plants, and all of that is still there. So what do you see happening there?
So that's really interesting. And that also we could see, I'm hearing from sources that some of it was publicly announced a month ago that Israel was preparing for a major military operation within Lebanon to really just wipe out Hezbollah once and for all. Even the Syrian government, Michelle Aoun, the president, they actually want this too. The Syrian government clearly is, and they admit pretty much themselves that they're incapable of really disarming Hezbollah themselves. So actually, this also plays into the Iran angle. So there could be, originally Israel was not afraid, but concerned if they took military action against Hezbollah that Iran would then retaliate. So right now this is getting very interesting, obviously, with the U.S. moving major assets into the region. We could literally see some action. The first action people think can be, which is the U.S. maybe taking imminent action against Iran. But this buildup can also be a huge deterrent and an opportunity for Israel to immediately take action. I'm talking in a week or two or less against Hezbollah in Lebanon, utilizing the U.S.'s presence in the region to deter Iran and allow Israel complete, autonomy to really finish off Hezbollah, and which then again weakens Iran at the same time. So it's like so many interesting calculations and timings of what's going to take place, and I think we're going to see some things taking place very imminently from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, we're watching, and in fact, I'm going to be in Beirut in a few weeks, so maybe that timing is going to be interesting. We'll see. Yemen is quiet. Has that been, I guess, not solved, but it has been pacified, maybe? What do you think?
No, it's not solved, that's for sure. And Iran is definitely, if there's going to be an all-out, conflict, they're definitely going to activate the Houthis, who are based out of Yemen. So Israel also, it wasn't done for these reasons in and of itself, but it definitely assists in it. Also, another issue that kind of went under the radar but was huge, on December 26th, Israel recognized, the first country to recognize something called Somaliland, which is, so it's a region within, people had to really study this issue again. Somalia, what is that? Somaliland is actually a very stable country now recognized by Israel, the first one. It's originally was united with Somalia. It's got a very long history, but it's extraordinarily stable, but it's very strategically located, literally, I think less than 99 miles away from Yemen. So that allows Israel to, for the first time, to have real sight on the Houthis, the ability to respond much quicker, to set up radar installations within Somaliland. So all these moving parts and the timing of it, I don't think are so coincidental. But again, I think Somaliland in and of itself, in my opinion, definitely deserves to be recognized as an independent country, regardless of any other factors. They're a very stable, a stable region. Ted Cruz, for example, is a huge proponent of that. There's a lot of Republicans that have been pushing over the past year for Trump to recognize Somaliland's independence, and we'll see where that takes, where that goes. But that does play into Yemen, the Houthis, and a lot of moving parts that have, as I mentioned before, that are just taking place with a much bigger picture clearly in mind, which is ultimately the downfall of Iran.
Yeah. What about the internal politics of Israel? What's going on there? Obviously, the war has kind of masked everything, but what's happening inside the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So, I mean, right now, Israel, even if the government doesn't fall for any reason, I mean, elections are this October, and election season in Israel always starts 90 days beforehand. So we're pretty much already in election season. So that's a huge aspect of it. So, yeah, there's a lot of internal political. I mean, it's just a reality. It's just election time in Israel. It's just a matter of it's going to be in October earlier. Again, I don't think these moves or anything are being made from a political perspective. I mean, I think this is just an alignment that's literally once in like a century opportunity to realign the Middle East and create a new order. Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical that the Prime Minister of Israel, which clearly has a very good relationship with the President of America, Trump, to see things through to stabilize the region. This really can be just a earth-shattering moment in the Middle East. I mean, we're on the cusp of it, and this has always been the Prime Minister is also. For 20 years, Iran was, his ultimate goal to really see that, fall, and that would then have a stabilizing effect on the entire region. So hopefully there'll be enough political space to do that, but I think there will be. There's not really any disputes within the parties, even right or left, as far as this bigger picture. So I think that things are stable enough. And within each of the parties' interest to at least see this moment through, so that there's agreement on that, and the time frame of the elections will be, either in October or if something happens sooner. But yeah, as of now, I think things are pretty stable, and we should see it by October. And then, really, depending on how all this plays out, will also play out into the election. So it's. So a lot of interconnected aspects, and things are going to get interesting.
What do you hear about on the ground in Iran now that we're talking about that? You and I have talked offline about this, but do you see the demonstrations have somewhat calmed down? Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, they calmed down. I mean, because the Iranians mowed them down. But I mean, the numbers, you're seeing the same information I am, 12, 20,000 killed, literally probably in a 48-hour period. So, yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental ingredients that led to this uprising, nothing changed in that regard. I mean, if anything, it's just going to get, tougher for the regime, regardless military action taken or not. I mean, these were, real protests. I mean, over a collapsing economy. I mean, people just they see the regime as corrupt. I mean, one of the slogans was, not what was it? Not Gaza, not Lebanon. Just for Iran, like meaning like the regime has spent so much money on, these proxies and the other issue, except dealing with the people itself. I mean, they don't have electricity. They don't have water. I mean, to the fact where Tehran was even thinking, even before all this, a few months ago, of moving its capital because of the water crisis and how mismanaged the entire regime is, and primarily just because of their stubbornness, not over having nuclear weapons or funding proxies, everything except providing for the Iranian people, and they've woken up into it. And I just think there's no going back, regardless of how many people they mowed down. So I think, the regime is going to fall. I think everyone agrees on that. It's not if, but a question of when. So that's we'll see how things are going to play out imminently, whether that's military action of very soon, what that'll mean. So, it's died out in the sense of having 100,000 to 1 million, whatever the number was, on the streets itself. But right now, as we mentioned before, the military buildup, and that can revive the movement and put real teeth into Trump's prior threats. We might see a big uprising again very soon. Very soon, actually.
Interesting. Well, those are all my questions. Is there anything else you wanted to get out?
I think we can probably go on all night. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm more than happy to, but I'm sure we both can use some good sleep. But because there's probably a lot more serious things to come of what we just spoke about.
Right.
A lot of things are looking like we're going to be seeing a lot of action taking place and a lot of world-changing events happening. So yeah, I'd love to talk about it and continue to talk about it as things do unfold over the next days and weeks. And I believe we will see them unfolding very imminently.
Well, we'll do that. We'll have you back as soon as something drops. Josh, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. Let you get some sleep.
Yeah, my pleasure. You too. You deserve it.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and will all...
Here we go. So we have worked with John B. Wells and his wife, Brindy, for some time on their product, Nucleo Boost. It's what we use to keep our stamina going here at CDM every day and every night. And I wanted to get her on to discuss it. So Brindy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Todd. I'll be quick. I just want to explain to you how Nucleo started. It didn't start as a product that we wanted to put on a shelf and sell. It really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen. In order to get my green card, I had to go through 7 years of all kinds of interesting exercises. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. And it was a question of, you take this or we deport you, you don't get your hearing. And because it was before COVID, we didn't really, the bioweapon thing didn't really like stand out at the time. I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. I literally turned red like a cooked lobster.
Nice.
My hair fell out. I got Hashimoto's, pre-diabetes. My gut biome was shot. Everything was wrong. I felt horrible. I threw up every morning. It was just, my skin looked terrible. I just thought, okay, this is it then. I'm going to die. Welcome to America if you survive the experience, right? So that is what makes me so mad about this immigration stuff. People can just walk across the border, and I literally had to go through that trauma. But it is what it is. And John got involved. He got all the people that has been on the show at the time talking about health. And Dr. Waterman got involved. Dr. Tenpenny got involved. Dr. Santiago got involved. All these people that know what they're doing. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And then when all this COVID stuff started coming out, and we also understand how they're contaminating our food, and that we have been for years, they have slowly killed us with what we've been eating. And that's when I learned, and I mean, this is a long documented scientific study, but to just make it short, is your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, you know, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Just as that, the same as your body. Your body needs all the minerals, the vitamins, the complex carbohydrates, protein, amino acids, everything work together, and it uses that to rejuvenate and repair your cells from the inside. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks, you know. You can stack sand, I guess, but if you don't have the right ingredients, you're going to start stealing from other places to try and make it work. And that's what happens with your body. It starts growing things and it starts getting imbalanced, and one imbalance follows another imbalance, and everything just goes out of whack. So
it's pretty simple concept, actually, right?
If you think about it, but science made it so complicated, right?
Yeah.
So what Nucleo is, and here it is, it's not an off-the-shelf little vitamin product. This is years of study, and this was specifically designed to help me get back from how bad it became. And it's got bioactive aloe vera in, which means it helps your body to mainline the product into the cells, and you're not just making expensive urine, you know. So the fact is that if you give your body all the right building blocks, every cell in your body starts to heal itself. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does Nucleo do? Nucleo itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs, balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally. And I've been on it 7 years. My Hashimoto's went away. I got my blood test 6 months ago. My thyroid is working 100%. I'm no longer pre-diabetic. My hair started growing again. I mean, it fell out. It looked horrible. It was awful. And especially as a woman, you know, you don't want to, you know, look, I mean, you know yourself, and all of a sudden your body doesn't function the way it used to. It's traumatic. But yes, your body can heal itself. You can get the correct amount of nutrients in your body, and you can feel better. It's not a death sentence.
That is a fantastic story. So what's the best way for people to get it, to use it? What do they need to know? Anything like just on a daily basis?
Okay, so you get a bag of Nucleo. You can sign up. It's usually $99 a month, but we are running a special now where you can get it for $88 if you sign up. And then we send you a free bag of Fuel Up. Fuel Up is hydration. It's also got bioactive aloe vera. It's also known as manna or ambergris. I'm sure people have heard of it before. It is phenomenal. It is superfood. And then you get a free bag of Fuel Up. There's stick packs in there. And if you are fully hydrated and fully nutritionalized, you function at a level that, at my age, and I don't want to go so and say how old they are, but I'm on the other side of 50, right?
Yeah.
I work 16-hour days, 6 nights a week.
I know
every
you do.
day.
I know you do.
And nonstop. There's no way on the planet that I can pull off this and feel the way I do and operate at the level I do if I wasn't getting help. And I take Nucleo every morning. I feel that it saved my life. I'm not making a medical claim, but when I started taking this stuff, I came back, and maybe I'll send you some photographs so you can. I actually don't want people to see me. I was horrible. I had that cortisol swollen face.
Yeah.
Like I said, I looked like a cooked lobster, and half my hair was, I had bald spots. So it was awful. I hid. Nobody got to see me for a year and a half. It was just, I was depressed. Pick something. It was just awful. And to be able to come back from that, and I can tell you, Nucleo Boost, it's a small investment. If you think about it, $88 a month, and you amortize that into 30 days, it's worth it. I can look at my story, listen to my story. I'm not trying to sell you, but if you get the right nutrition into your veins, into your body, into your system, your body is going to do something beautiful for you. And that's my story.
So a lot of people buy this and they buy that, and they ended up having 25 different bottles that they have to take vitamins. This does it all for you, right? Essentially.
This is your complete set of micronutrients, which is your minerals, your vitamins, and your metals. What is it? Your iron, your copper, because people don't understand how important metals are as well. You can get metal poisoning, so don't overdo it. But everything in Nucleo is completely balanced. So 1 scoop a day. And I know it's aloe vera and it is bitter. It's like takes you back to your mom when she made you sit in front of your broccoli, right? So what is usually good for you doesn't necessarily taste wonderful. And people go, oh, it tastes horrible. Well, if you want something nice, go buy a candy bar. It's not going to do the same thing, but this is not designed to taste well. There's a smoothie book that is on our store, ctmstore.com. You can download it for free. I usually put it in orange juice, but we also have capsules. So if you do not want to go through the trauma of making smoothies every morning, 4 capsules in the morning, same trick. I did that because I don't like bitter. Men don't mind bitter. I don't like it bitter, but it's a question of taste. With the capsules, with the powder, there's no excuse. You can get it into your body. And every single person that has, we've had people that has been on it religiously every month since we launched it 3-4 years ago. And they've been members ever since. And the attrition rate is so low. So what I'm trying to say is, usually when people cancel, or they usually pause because they've built up a bit, but it's the odd here, I'm moving or this, but there's nobody has ever phoned me and said, Brandy, this is horrible. I hate it. Yeah. So that has not happened. So
yogurt, in my experience, yogurt works really well too. But you know what gets me is you work 16-hour days. We're the same way. And what I love is waking up in the morning feeling that refreshed, like jump out of bed feeling. You're not like still tired. I mean, that the stamina, I guess, is what I'm getting at. It just rejuvenates you, because I guess your body just takes all the stuff in Nucleo and heals you, as you said. So you're ready to go the next morning. That
Absolutely.
To me, yeah.
And the reviews, you can go to ctmstore.com/reviews. Go read the reviews. I mean, people are coming. I don't want to make medical claims, because just make it clear, Nucleo doesn't do anything. It's your body repairing itself. But people are coming out of pre-diabetes. Hair is growing back. The gray is growing back color again. It doesn't happen for everybody. Everybody's body is different. That's, again, to prove that Nucleo, sometimes it takes your body 50 years to deteriorate. And you think you're going to take one scoop and it's a miracle. It doesn't. It takes time. But within about 6 weeks, every cell in your body has rejuvenated. And that's when you start really feeling the effect. But I personally, when I took it the first time, my eyesight improved. And people thought I was crazy and just making it up. And they did it. And some other people had the same effect. So it works different for everybody, but it does something wonderful for everybody. We had one girl who, I'm going to just tell the story quickly, and it's quick. She was born severely retarded. She had the umbilical cord around her neck and didn't have enough oxygen. In any event, her brother takes care of her and looks after her after her parents died. She's in her 50s now, but the mind of a child, just, had a very bad accident at birth. She's in a home. Her brother started giving her Nucleo boost, and she started painting pictures.
Wow.
I mean, she never painted before. So and I'm not just, little pictures, work of art, oil paintings that takes your breath away.
Wow.
And she never talked or anything. She started speaking sentences, but she started painting these pictures. So it does something good for everybody, in your body does what it does. But if you give it the right nutrition, it will perform on a level that you didn't know you had.
It's amazing nobody else has done this. I mean, it's just fascinating, the product itself. It's such a simple concept. But yeah. Anything else you want to get out, Brindy?
Well, they're trying to, you have no idea, just like, I'm not, you have all the ideas because you understand what censorship is like. And this product has taken some flack. They don't like us having this product on the market. And it's just bizarre that if you do something good for people and something works, boy, here they come, don't they? But that to me tells me that we're on the right track.
Brindy, thank you so much. We'll have you back down the road.
God bless you.
Bye.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. we have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and we'll all...
Well, we're back with Pete Blaber for Ukraine SitRep, and you're going to know a lot more about Pete real soon. I'll let him talk about that if he wants to. But Pete, thanks for coming back on, man.
Yeah, great to be here. To our viewers, it's been a little bit slow. There's a couple of reasons for that. Todd and I have both been traveling, but also in Ukraine, it's been freezing cold. The Russian Orthodox Christmas, or the Orthodox Christian Christmas, is beginning of January. And to those who missed it, Putin, at one point raised the potential for a ceasefire on Christmas. And it was revealing because Merz jumped in, the Chancellor of Germany, and said, on the 25th, he said, Putin called for a ceasefire, and here we are on the 25th, and no ceasefire. And it's like, it's revealing because it shows if you don't understand your competition, if you don't understand the country and the culture and the people you're directing your angst at, then you're just spitting in the wind. That's what senselessness is, not applying your senses. But all that together, and it's
there.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, in Russia, I never knew it. I thought Christmas is like one day, or in Eastern Europe, I should say. It's not. It's like 9 days. It goes on. It's a huge, New Year's, Christmas thing, and it just goes on and on and on. A lot of food, and anyway. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's so same thing. It's been really cold, and that always slows things down. The massive snows, which affected all of Europe, but definitely affected this area. So it's been inhospitable, but that doesn't mean the fighting is back on there. It's still, the battlefield's moving, and the peace talks. We're not exactly sure. Kushner and Witkoff are going to Russia, I believe, today to talk to Putin. So there's problems. We talked about the Ukrainian response, which is completely unacceptable. But the war's going on, and we just wanted to update our viewers. We got some good clips to show you that you don't see anywhere else. And they basically hit on a lot of the key topics, which unfortunately revealed to us that it probably there won't be a breakthrough anytime soon, given what the EU's doing, given what is going on with Zelensky and his, junta government in Ukraine. So maybe start out with the weather, Todd. I think we got a couple of pictures and videos.
It's brutal there. This is. There's no heat over much of Kiev, 3 million people at risk. And imagine surviving in, minus 20 day after day with children. It's really brutal.
Yeah. So, again, some context, up till really about 6 weeks to 2 months ago, one of the things a lot of people have been saying, observers, is if you go into Kyiv, people barely even act like there's war going on. All the nightclubs were open, all the shops, and Kyiv's, as you and I have talked about, a fantastic town. No shortage of things to do. And so it really hadn't touched Kyiv. And you also have pointed out, a lot of people don't know this, but Kyiv is is considered a holy city to Orthodox Christians. It's where the religion started, and
Yes.
Putin and Russia have showed incredible restraint not to flatten Kyiv, because remember, the battlefield is the people, the things you see flattened in videos and on TV is Eastern Ukraine, where the ethnic Russians live. So they felt the war in totality because most of their towns are now flattened. But it has not been the same way in Western Ukraine and certainly in Kyiv. And it's happening now. And Mayor Klitschko, who's the ex-boxing champ, he just announced yesterday that over 600,000 Ukrainians have fled Kyiv just in January alone. So that's about a quarter of the population fleeing. His advice is everyone should get out. The estimate is 80% of Kyiv is completely without power. So that's no heat, no water. And of course the shops, if there's a few left, but the ones that are left have no bread. Obviously perishable items, are very difficult. The weather helps, but you can't make money in a grocery store if you got to use generator power 24/7 to power it. So it's fallen apart, and it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's the horrors of war. And like you said, imagine the people who can't afford to flee. They are literally freezing to death. And the reason we want to start with that is because, what we're going to show you is no movement on the peace process, especially from Zelensky and Ukraine, still not willing to compromise on any of the things they've stuck their feet in the ground on, why they lose territory and why their people, are living in squalor and, into that survival mode of life, which is a stark difference from the way they used to live.
Have you watched any of the Davos stuff? I've been pretty in tune in it and kind of neglected everything else. But today it was all rah, Russia's losing. We're going to kill 50,000 Russians a month. And it's all good. And, we're going to win this war. I mean, from all the European capitals, that was the refrain, So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a psyop. It just shows you, and the hallmarks of a psyop, which includes, industrial strength propaganda, is that they have to erase history and current reality in order for the psyop to work. So of course they erase history, how it started, what's happened since 2014, but they're also erasing what's happening on the battlefield. And since you jumped to it, we'll jump to it now. Sirski came out, did a press conference 3 days ago, and in that press conference he started with some candor. He said Russia has matched our technology on drones. They're ahead of us on fiber optic drones. And our intelligence says they have exceeded their goal for number of Garans manufactured a day. They're now at 400, almost 500, 480 Garans a day. So that means they can fly 480 Garans a day. And that's an amazing thing. We've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. If you read the historic lessons from the Eastern Front, written by Germany, what went wrong? What did we get wrong? Well, the number one thing was we underestimated the Russian military, but the number two is we totally underestimated Russian military industrial capacity. And that was obviously done again here today for the fools who thought it was a good idea to try to make Russia implode by antagonizing it while killing ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. But we can see that their military industrial capacity is super impressive. And I'm not sure we could have matched that. So, it's not good, bad. We're not cheering it or anything. We're just saying this was apparent to anyone who understands Russia, anyone who'd been to Russia in the last 10 years and could see what they've done economically. And it's happening, and the results are catastrophic. But he then, after admitting that, he said, however, Russians are taking far, far more casualties than us. In fact, in 2025, our casualties dropped by 13%. And, that's as farcical as you can get. But, he spit it out anyway. And there's another, I want to give a source for people who can want to look this up themselves. Mm-hmm. There's a great site now, the Russians, it's been up the whole time, but it's up now, and it's called Media Zona, Zona, it's one word, Media Zona, and it's done by Russia, and it's been up since 23. It's now updated. Every Russian soldier who's been killed has his picture on there and the date of when he died. And the numbers are still pretty horrific. So here's the numbers from Russia. 2023, 39,694. 2024, 58,064. That's how many men we lost in Vietnam in 15 years. 2025, 22,767, and no count for 26. So, they've admitted to what we've been saying ballpark the whole time. They've admitted to 163,000 total dead for the entire war. But again, if you take the body counts, the body exchanges, which are 39 to 1, 39 times the number of dead Ukrainians as Russians, these numbers fit. And the Russian and the Ukrainian total, which we know because of the leaked or hacked database from the Ukrainian MOD, which this is a Ukrainian database made by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. That happened almost 6 months ago, and they had the count at 1.2 million dead Ukrainians. So, it's probably around 1.4 or 5 now, and which is just an incredible number. So on both sides, it's, 1.5 million men have died, and these Ukrainians are still dying, yet, there's no movement on peace talks. There's no desperation. Zelensky's blaming the loss of all these power stations and the fact that the Russians' drones and missiles are getting through. He's blaming it on the military. He came out yesterday and said it's the military's fault. They should be shooting these down. It's completely unacceptable how many are getting through. But as we know, it's not the military's fault. Their number one weapon is the Patriot, and the Patriot is not anymore a relevant anti-aircraft weapon system. It just does not work. And at $1 million plus per missile, it's not even worth shooting at a Garand that, the Russians spent $15,000 on max to make. So bad situation with the weather, and you still have this same industrial strength propaganda. So, the question is why, and maybe we can show Britain just agreed to provide its most cutting edge missiles to Ukraine. I think we have a thing of Starmer. Yep, right there. Intends to transfer the most modern weapons to the Ukrainian, powerful long-range ballistic missiles that can hit Russia. And you can see the signing ceremony there, and you just be like, why would they do this right now, given what we're talking about, the dire state on the battlefield? Their people are freezing to death in the middle of a winter that has still at least 2 more months to go. Why would they do it? And that's a good question, and it should go to our next slide, I think you have the French admiral story.
Yes. This is the Nabu.
So another $100 billion, the Nabu story, another $100 billion corruption scandal. This one caught red-handed, taped by the driver in the back seat. You can read it, Yermak's car talking to this French admiral and talking about the slush fund and how they're going to transfer money and how people are going to get paid off. And that's $100 million or personnel, 2 billion euros, basically, and over fighter jets, which means the fighter jets aren't coming, but a bunch of these bureaucrats' pockets have been lined with, like they could never have dreamed of them being lined. Yeah. And so when you continue to ask why would you allow your country to live in squalor, your country to flee your intelligentsia and your most valuable asset as a country, your patriots, to just die to where they're heading right now, which is almost extinction level. You're passing 1 million men. If, every country has 1 million, patriots who will stand up for freedom at any time, any age, then that country's a lucky country. And they've already lost well beyond that. So,
I have a video with that. There's a video with that too. Do you want to play that now? Or
yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Une enquête choquante a été publiée sur le site web de l'agence anticorruption ukrainienne, NABU. L'agence a conclu qu'un certain nombre de hauts fonctionnaires et militaires ukrainiens et français avaient détourné.
So you get the point. I mean, it's a corruption scandal that NABU, which is the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, uncovered.
Yep. And, but you're not hearing anything about it. I mean, a French admiral in the back seat, an active duty French admiral, agreeing to the money laundering and slush fund process of this transaction, which is Ukraine using Euro money anyway and US money to buy these Rafale fighter jets. And yet it's not even going to Rafale fighter jets, which isn't a good investment either. Yeah. And so you can't make this up. But that's why we report it, because, like you said, at Davos today, their leaders are literally standing up saying, we can win this thing. We're winning. Russia can't handle the casualties. And just on that point, we talked about Russia, 163,000. They also announced last week that they exceeded their contract recruitment rate. They hit 415,000. I think their goal was 400. They shut it down at 400, but they have 415. So Russia took in 415,000 new recruits just last year, and their army was already standing at something like 780,000. So, it's like physics. You can't argue physics. You can't argue the law of numbers. And big numbers especially, and they're there. So that's why we've got to keep uncovering this propaganda, because it's just bold-faced lies. To me, you and I have said this before. They're obsessed with the war's got to keep going through 2026, and you just saw why empirically. Rushing to sign this signing ceremony with Starmer in Britain and Zelensky. They're trying to obligate all these contracts. And remember, these are all going to European military industrial complex, which we talked about 2 episodes ago. Stocks skyrocketed when the whole Trump thing was finalized. We're not giving you weapons anymore. You either make them yourself or you can buy them for the standard price from us and do what you want with them. Well, they obviously saw that. They have the same thing we do in the military industrial complex, lobbyists at every level. They went right in, licking their chops, and now they're trying to sign all these contracts to obligate these funds. And Meanwhile, at a lesser scale, European economies are all tanking. Starmer says he's going to cancel all those harsh measures he took on people and economy, reducing pensions, reducing heating oil, all that stuff. But it's still there, and that's why. And, giving money to Ukraine is worse than just giving it to a black hole. It's giving money to the corruption network to repatriate across this massive globalist corruption network that is trying to propagate and keep the Ukraine war going.
Well, on that note, this is Viktor Orban talking about exactly that they're trying to take all of Hungary's assets and give it to Ukraine.
Yep.
And he's not going to allow that.
Hero.
Yeah.
He's a hero. He noted that Ukraine is demanding $800 billion from the West for the next decade. Notice that's what all they want is it to be obligated so that these funds are gated off and can go into the slush fund, the laundering industrial complex. And what he says at the end is spot on. Europe will weaken and face an economic collapse if it continues to sponsor Kyiv at the expense of Europeans. And that's why I think Viktor Orban is a hero. He knows his job is to take care of the interests of the people of Hungary. And giving Kyiv money, which everyone knows is a massive corruption cesspool, you're looking at it in videotapes that the mainstream media won't show you. But again, you can't make this up. It's just got to be stopped. And that's why we talk about it.
So I've got a video of Orban. I'll just play that real quick.
Európai demokrácia azért a gazdasághoz hasonlóan lejtmenetben van. Volt egy választás egy európai országban, amit meg kellett ismételni, hogy nem ragadtak a borítékok. Van olyan európai ország, ahol a legtámogatottabb ellenzéki pártot nemzetbiztonsági megfigyelés alatt tartják.
AFD.
Van olyan ország Európában, ahol nem engedik elindulni egy polgármester választáson egy adott párt képviselőt. Van olyan ország, ahol a legnépszerűbb vezetőt bírósági döntéssel megakadályozzák abban, hogy el tudjon indulni a választáson. Van olyan ország, ahol egy belügyminiszternek egészen a legmagasabb bírói instanciáig kellett eljutnia, hogy ne zárják börtönbe, mert megvédte a saját országa határait. Van olyan ország, ahol rálőttek az elnökjelöltre. Ha ezeket így egyben nézem, akkor Magyarország egészen mint a demokráciának. De azt mondom önnek, hogy és ahhoz mit szól, hogy az Európai Unió több vezető tisztségviselője ellen az Egyesült Államok vezet be szankciókat. Arra hivatkozva, hogy Európában a szólásszabadságot korlátozó szabályok kialakításában vettek részt. Ezek mind új dolgok. A régi világrend fölbomlott, formálódóban van egy új, amely ilyen kísérő jelenségek kopogtat be. A magyar kormány egyetlen dolgot tud tenni, a magyar kormány nem támogat szankciókat, a magyar kormány azt gondolja, hogy mindenki, ha van véleménye, és ez képes a jogszabály keretei között megfogalmazni, akkor hajrá tegye. A viták jót tesznek, a demokrácia az véleménykülönbségekből, vitákból, megbeszélésekből, megegyezésekből áll, ezt nem lehet megspórolni. Valaki azt gondolja, hogy ezt adminisztratív szabályokkal kiiktathatja, vagy szankciókkal megszüntetheti, az magát a demokráciát fogja megszüntetni.
So there you go. He's getting into democracy. Yes.
Yeah, historic speech should be on every mainstream media network. Thanks for playing that, Todd. He said it all. And what he was talking about in the beginning is the color revolutions, which, they're still hard at. And the color revolution, the advanced color revolution is the first thing you do is send in lawyers with bags of cash. They go in to bribe the Supreme Court justices, the top legal experts in the country. They have their playbook. So here's the things you can look at that anyone can call corrupt. And if you just say this and then open a case, then we can open it, win it, get the new election, get the person in they want to win. And that's what's happened in Moldova, Romania. They tried to do it in Georgia. Georgia was just too overwhelmingly populist, wouldn't let it happen. But the AfD thing in Germany, we should tell Germany, we're not talking to you. That's totalitarianism, and especially at the mayoral level. But again, they're using the Color Revolution playbook, which was written by U.S. State Department and CIA personnel. And that thing says the lowest level is actually more important than the higher. You've got to take these cities and these oblasts, the towns, provinces, and win those over to prevent the populist movement from getting, any kind of ground strength. And it's disgusting. And, of course, the head of the AFD is totally against the war in Ukraine, wants to end it immediately. She's also totally against the illegal immigration that's been allowed in Germany and the special dispensation given to many of these migrants that Angela Merkel let in her open door policy. So,
well, also there was 7 or 8, I forget the exact number, maybe more AFD politicians that all mysteriously died in the last election. So, there you go.
Yeah. Disgusting. And, especially out of Germany. Germany just had a big scandal. Apparently a couple of their elite units, were overtly giving the Heil Hitler sign, have all kinds of paraphernalia in their team rooms and whatnot. And, again, that's one of the byproducts of a schizophrenic government that has no foundation, that can't talk to its people about doing the right thing and about, objectivity, and that extremism is bad no matter what form it takes, which every military person should know. You cannot be politically tainted as a member of the military, or you'll never be competent on the battlefield. None of that shit can be in your head. You have to be focused on the tasks that make you competent: shoot, move, and communicate. But it continues to go on, and that's why when we opened, we said, their actions speak louder than any words that anyone is espousing right now. Their actions say, throw whatever monkey wrenches we need into this process, demur, delay, and ultimately defeat these efforts to find peace, at least through 2026, so we can get these contracts obligated.
Yeah, amazing. Well, on that, why don't we talk about Nord Stream? You want to bring that up real quick?
Yeah, because it goes into the heating thing, and
so this,
Dmitriev, and we've talked about him before. This guy, you talk about diplomats who should know something about the other countries they're dealing with. Dmitriev lived in the U.S. for 14 years. He was a child, genius or whatever. Went to MIT and Stanford, but 14 years. He gets it. He's the guy who couldn't contain himself about the tunnel connecting Alaska with Russia, which you and I wholeheartedly agree with. He's really sharp, and he brings up another great point that is the only reason that people aren't hearing this said all over is because it's to the mainstream media, the globalist media. It's something that needs to be shut down. How do they feel about blowing up the Nord Stream now? They have no continuous gas supply. They depend on us sending ships with gas on it over to the EU, and they're freezing too. Germany's gone to austerity measures. We already mentioned Great Britain, but it's a cold winter, and people need to be asking, why did my government blow up that pipeline? And what did that accomplish anyway? Now that we look back on it, nothing. It didn't bring Russia to its knees. It had no material effect on its economy. It was just another senseless decision made by the globalists, and of course, Joe Biden, Jake Sullivan, and Austin, all the individuals who were behind that and sanctioned it. Think of them, why these people are freezing.
So the UK is making noise again about putting people on the ground, but they don't have the money or the will, the UK doesn't even have the will to survive, in my opinion. The culture just has committed suicide, I think. And so same with Germany as well, and France. But because of the unrestricted migration and all of that, but their culture is dying, and they can say anything they want, but they don't have the force structure, simply don't, or the money.
True. And this is a retired general just saying what you just said and what everybody knows. But it's powerful because remember what we said, the way to expose propaganda is with facts in real time. And this is a fact. They don't have it. It exposes, they're just pretending remember right before Davos, they all met, the three key ones, Macron, Merz, and Starmer. And that's when all the talk about, hey, well, we're talking specifics about how to provide security for Ukraine after the ceasefire, and which is not going to happen either unless there's a peace agreement. There's not going to be a ceasefire unless there's a peace agreement. But no one ever thought this was a good idea. There's a bunch of videos by individuals I told you about, especially in Britain, saying, I don't know what they're talking about, but none of us want to fight Russia. And, it's military guys saying it. Of course they don't. What's the logic of why you lose your life as a Brit for this fake propaganda war in Ukraine? And they know they'd lose their lives because jumping into this war would be the last bad decision any of these European countries ever made. So,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say there's a video on that, essentially on Poland, that you sent me. I'll just play that.
Yeah, it's another
really
good one.
And is that we have found a way to reassure Ukraine that her state functions and her defense budget will be sustained by the EU with a sum of $90 billion for the next 2 years. That, I think, is changing Putin's calculus, because he may have hoped, as he did from the beginning, that
fatigue would set in.
Democracies are pathetic. Democracies don't have the staying power. Now he has to be ready to fight for another 2 years, and and it's not clear that his army and his economy can bear that burden.
So that's the Tusk government, who is just completely on the globalist. It's destroying Poland. There's a video out, I can bring it, where an African guy is in Poland, and he's saying to a Ukrainian refugee, "I'm Polish, you're not. This is the new Poland. Get out." So it's
wow.
It's
but, I mean, Todd, that video should go into an archive as an example of a propagandist trying to make a case. And did you see what he did? And then Putin says, "Oh, nasty democracies." That's not a fact. That's your imitation of what you think he's saying. But as we've already shown, and as anyone who understands common sense, Russia's like, hey, knock yourself out. You want it to go 2 more years, we'll go all the way to Kyiv. We'll take all these oblasts. Nothing's going to change. They have no problem. And go back to those numbers, 1.25 million dead versus 163,000. Forced conscripts in Ukraine, exceeding the number in Russia, a number that any country other than Russia probably could not produce right now. It would take a major Pearl Harbor-like event in the U.S. for 400,000 to sign up. And we might be the only other country that could do it, but it would have to be a Pearl Harbor-like event. Certainly not, let's do it so we could send them to Ukraine halfway across the world to get destroyed. Really unbelievable. And you heard him say that key point. So we've figured out a way to keep this going for 2 more years. So he's stretching it to 27. I'm sure they rethought the 26. Hey, if we go to 27, we can actually re-obligate those funds for another year. So it's a massive military industrial complex driven course of action by the EU and these European leaders, and of course Poland being part of that. And it's despicable because of those deaths, those numbers we're talking about, people freezing, nasty war. I think we have a couple of clips here just to drive that home, because a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Here is one soldier who was captured.
Идти по лесополкам, ну там видео, и в видео точки расставлены, и шли по этим точкам, ну по карте, дошли до точки непосредственно, ну и шли мы дней 5. В каждой там где-то лесополке или еще где-то, то есть искали блиндаж, в блиндажах ночевали и на следующее утро выдвигались. И так в течение 5-6 дней. И шли до Мирнограда. В Мирнограде зашли и шли с группой 4 человек. 2 человека накрыло минометом. И вдвоем мы прошли пару улиц и зашли в дом и сдались в плен. Вообще нам говорили, что там находятся наши, ну, то есть украинцы. Мы постучались в двери, потому что попробовали открыть дверь, дверь была закрыта.
Yeah, he was abandoned, and Mirnograd is like a suburb of Pokrovsk. So when Mirnograd was surrounded, they walked for 5 days to get in there. And again, you see this common theme we've talked about. Guys don't know what they're doing. There's no logic of why. They're just told to do stuff, and instead of an explanation, they're told do it or else. And that is the death knell of any military. Doesn't matter if it's Ukraine, Russia, any military. It's about knowledge. Knowledge is power. Everyone needs to have situational awareness. And when you're just sending your recruits blindly into a surrounded cauldron, your words no longer have any meaning, because once again, your actions drowned out any word you might say about caring for your troops. So
here's a piece of battle footage.
Yeah, these are Ukrainian soldiers trying to get back in their dugout. And that's the horrific fate of it.
Yeah.
And again, we don't show that because it's cool. We show it because there's no other way to drive home the point of how horrific this war is and how guys are dying like that. They're running into their dugout and then getting blown to pieces while they're in there.
1,000 a day, essentially.
Yeah,
that's the number. That kind of scale is people. You can't really get your mind around that. 1,000 guys a day.
And we got people trying to kill ICE agents for trying to capture known criminals and do the right thing with them. They're criminals to start with, being illegal aliens, but then the crimes they've committed as illegal aliens. So just think about that and the priorities, what social media has done to priorities. If there was no social media, you care about what's going on around you. You don't direct all your attentions on some made up propaganda from across the world and a message that's been given to you by, your globalist masters. So same thing in Europe, everyone should have the same passion you and I do for saving the rest of the Ukrainian manpower and civilians and their economy. And the only way to do that is to do the right thing and end this war right away.
So I've got a couple mobilization clips here. This is another Ukraine.
Remember, Russia had to cut off had to shut down its recruitment headquarters because so many volunteered. This is what Ukraine's doing to get one guy. And imagine what that guy did to pull your door panel out. Just think about how the grip he had on that. Now look what they're doing to him. There's a recruit. Gut punching, probably just injured his kidney for life. You hear the honks?
Ну что,
They're
да
actually
поломали
starting
машину.
to spray mace at everyone, and there's another video of them shooting. They're now using deadly force to fend off the civilians who rise up to protect these young men who don't have the means to leave. It's hard to leave anyway. To get out in winter would be incredibly difficult.
They'll
kill you at the border. It's shoot to kill at the border. Not coming in, going out.
Yeah. Here's another one from Ukraine where they actually injured a civilian.
Yeah, they just sprayed that woman. But she looked like a threat to anyone. And the guy.
It's hard to watch. Hard to watch.
It is hard, but Todd, that you can't have that. If that even just happened one time, it would be an indicator of a pattern. And again, the purpose we show those for is because the people of Ukraine are not buying the propaganda you're hearing being espoused and basically verbally ejaculated by these EU leaders and the head of Poland, all of these EU leaders together who are in on this propaganda war. And it's despicable because you just saw, the empirical example of what's happening to young men in Ukraine. And we already provided another empirical example of their ultimate fate. And anyone who is supporting this war continuing has no credibility in my mind as just a functioning member of human society. Yeah, humanity.
Yeah, it's not human. All right, Pete, we got one more slide on Serbia. I don't know if that's of interest.
Just throw that up because it's so NATO just removed this from its website. It's a 99 briefing justifying the strikes on the power grid. And folks, you've heard us talk about color revolutions before, and you've heard us talk about what kind of thought process went into the the Biden State Department, Biden CIA, the EU, when they decided we're going to bomb these ethnic Russians. We're going to start wholesale killing these ethnic Russians. And we, as we've explained, it's right out of the playbook. The Color Revolution playbook believes just what this says on this memo from NATO. NATO will continue to attack Serbia's energy facilities. If this causes harm to civilians by depriving them of water and electricity, that's Milosevic's problem. Let him accept NATO's 5 conditions and this will stop, stated the suddenly disappeared text. So they're pulling all this stuff, their track record. The bombing of Serbia was a despicable thing. It was a color revolution. And you read what these color revolution, these despicable leftists and globalists truly believe, that if you wreak havoc, you inflict pain and suffering on civilians, that's the best way to cause them to rise up and overthrow the person that you don't like, that you've decided will not cooperate with us. And that's what happened in Ukraine from 14 to 21, exactly that. And that was written by a NATO official right there, and it was archived, but they're trying to clean the slate now. It's the same thing that's going on across the globe right now, but it's also good to see because you're going to hear people start saying that it's not humanitarian what Russia is doing to Kyiv. But what Russia is very carefully doing in Kyiv is taking out infrastructure. They're not bombing apartment buildings. There's no Garans or Iskanders targeted at high-rise buildings. They're all hitting production facilities and intelligence sites around Kyiv, very, very specifically with low collateral damage.
Wow. Pete, what else? You got anything else?
I don't, Todd. That's it.
It's a really good update, and we'll have you back next week, maybe later next week, since we did this one so late. So we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, to our viewers, final thing I'd say is, Todd mentioned it earlier, I did a podcast with Sean Ryan. That'll be coming out here in the next week. He was shocked. He went right to Ukraine right in the beginning, so I gave him the Ukraine rundown. He was shocked by it. It's a good podcast. I'll put it out on my Substack page, but we'll talk a little bit more about it once it comes out.
Yeah, and we'll highlight it as well, put it out on our network. Thank you very much, Pete. Really appreciate your insight.
Yep.
Take care.
Thank you, Todd. Bye-bye.
Okay, my friends, hope you enjoyed the SCIF. If you're watching this, I'm on the road at Fort Bragg. I'll be on Steve Bannon tomorrow. I'm taping this Thursday night. I'll be on Steve Bannon Saturday morning, 10 a.m. So far, that could change, to talk about what we're doing at Fort Bragg. But Fort Bragg is a home of the Airborne Corps, but also of the Joint Special Operations Command, and just a lot happening at that post. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us today. Please check out our social media, CDM1 on Rumble, CDM on YouTube. Please follow us there, CDM_press on X. You can find me at Real L. Todd Wood on X. Sign up for our no-ad subscriptions. my.cdm.press is really important to give us that $10 a month or $100 a year, and you get access to all of our content with no ads. We're set up as a network, so there are multiple sites that you can move around to throughout the network as you're looking at the news. If something in Georgia may be on cdm.press, and you'll get taken to the Georgia Record. But if you sign up for the no-ad subscription, you don't get all the pop-up ads each time you move around the sites. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. A lot of people just pay the $100 and get it out of the way. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back Monday, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF. But we've also got the Georgia show coming up at 2 p.m. on Sunday, as usual, our flagship show in Georgia. So you can join us for that. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday, 10 a.m. on the SCIF. We've got a big week next week, a lot going on. Stay with us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.